Hey everyone, and welcome back to Nerdy Exchange. Today, I thought my video will be about what it's been like in the first half of my exchange, going through some of the positives and negatives of doing an exchange in general, and coupling that with some of my specific experiences and opinions about these different points. So I'll start with the negatives. Number one, homesickness. Homesickness is generally a pretty big problem. The majority of exchange students and gap year students do have it if they're away from home for a long period of time. And it's just because you're missing your family, you're not with them for different traditions you may have, like holidays, vacations. You're not going to the school that you would normally go to, or just even seeing the same things you see when you walk down the street every day. And that can cause a feeling of homesickness. It can mean you're sad, depressed, just uncomfortable with what you're doing every day. And so it can be a pretty serious problem, but there are ways to fix it and be able to push through it and really to be able to enjoy your experience. Because that's why you're doing an exchange. You want to enjoy all these new things you're learning and seeing. And when you're experiencing homesickness, it's more difficult to do that, which is understandable, and I go through it as well. I've gone through it multiple times. I've done multiple exchanges, and you just start to miss your family, and it's completely normal. It's just important to make sure you work on it and get through it so you can really enjoy and have fun meeting new people and being in a new country. Too. Sometimes I feel lost in school, and this is usually due to the language barrier where maybe I don't understand all the vocab words of German, and so I won't know what's happening in class. And sometimes I do know exactly what's happening in class, and then suddenly the dialogue will switch to something else, and I have no idea again. And I think that's also normal. I mean, I've been here now about 5.5 months, and I still get confused with what goes on in my classes, and it takes work to really go through the material, understand the vocabulary, and then understand what you're learning. It's something to work on, and I think that is also just completely normal. And if you feel that way, like if you start feeling really lost in your classes, just try and talk to your teachers. I need to do that more, I know, because sometimes I struggle in my classes and I don't ask questions, and if I don't ask questions, then I'm not going to get answers and I'm not going to be able to improve. 3. Currently, I can't really speak English or German, and I say that because sometimes I don't know enough vocabulary to be able to get my point across in German, and I'll have to stop and explain the word in the conversation I'm having and then go back to the point I'm trying to make or the story I'm trying to tell, which can be kind of frustrating sometimes. And then when I'm trying to speak English, say with family members over Skype or with friends back in the US, I'll mix up words with German words. I won't be able to completely fluidly connect sentences, kind of like sometimes what's happening right now. But it's just something, I think it's like the halfway point where you really start learning the language. And so hopefully as I move further on, my grammar and my vocabulary will improve a lot, and I'll be able to be fluent in German, hopefully before the end of my exchange. Something I have to be conscious of when I'm writing scholarship applications, because when I read back through them, they won't make sense. The point I'm making won't make sense, and I'll have to sometimes rework the sentence with normal English grammar instead of with German grammar, which I've been focusing on. Well, those are some of the negatives. They're not actually all that bad. I'd say homesickness is probably the most serious one that you want to deal with during your exchange, because it's something that can mean you don't enjoy your exchange as much, and if you're not enjoying your exchange, then it can be a struggle to see what the point of doing it is. So I think it's important to deal with and really get through it. So now it's time for the positives. Number one is it is so much easier to learn a language when you're in the country. It's the only thing you're hearing all day, what you're speaking to the other people, what you're reading on different signs and menus and stuff all around where you're staying. So you're really immersed in the culture and the language, and so you find that you're learning vocabulary a lot more. I definitely say it takes more time to learn the grammar, which might be something that's more of an advantage to learn in class. But I would say you definitely find it easier to speak in conversation when you're in the country. And that's not to say that learning any language in a classroom isn't effective. I think it just takes more time, and you have to really be devoted to learning a language every single day, because you're not just naturally coming about it in your day-to-day life. Number 2, meeting new people through exchanges. through exchanges, whether they be my own or the exchanges of other people coming to my school, I've met people from around the world. I've learned about them, their cultures, their languages, their food, which is great. And I thought I'd list some of the places that I know people from, and it's just really interesting to know different types of people. So I know people now in Germany, because that's where I'm staying, Italy, Australia, China, Brazil, Mexico, Sweden, and Denmark. And I feel like there's one more, and I just can't remember what it is. Maybe it'll come to me at some point. Who knows? If my high school hadn't encouraged and participated in these different exchanges, then I would never have been able to meet these people, and I would never know all about all these different cultures and being able to, I don't know, compare what going to different school systems is like, comparing food, and just comparing interests. For example, Harry Potter and Doctor Who. I think it's really important to meet people from different countries because it's easier to understand the world that way. And I think you can really relate to a person when you meet them in person rather than on social media or the internet, etc. Number 3, seeing the world. So by being in a country like Germany, which has pretty great public transportation, I've been able to see the world pretty easily, more than when I was in the US. Of course, it's pretty easy to go to places like Canada, but I mean, the US is such a huge country, you don't really get to go outside the borders that much and experience whole different types of cultures from specific other countries. So in Germany, or in Wuppertal specifically here, we have got a bunch of different types of public transportation. One of these is just bike lanes. There's bike lanes all over the place. There are buses, there are trains, and there's also something specific to Wuppertal called the Schwebebahn, which is a train. It's not really, it's upside down. It's a hanging train that hangs along a track and travels along the Wupper River. And so that's pretty convenient because there's no traffic. And it's pretty cheap too. You can get from Dusseldorf, or you can get from Wuppertal to Dusseldorf for about €5 with a bus ticket and a train ticket. It makes it really easy to travel throughout Europe when you have such a great public transportation system. So if you're doing an exchange, I definitely recommend choosing a country or an area that has great public transportation. Number 4, maybe my favorite, which would be food. So there's so many different types of food here in Germany, just because of the different cultures that have influenced the area, and some things that are just really specific to like the Alps region. So this past winter we got to go to the Alps in Austria to go skiing, and we also got to try, or I got to try for the first time, a bunch of foods that are traditional Austrian foods, and they're basically really delicious. So I thought I'd just go through a few of the things I've gotten to try. Spätzle, Germknödel, Pfannkuchen, Flammkuchen, Printen, Armdudler, and Frikadellen. These are basically just different types of sort of like pastas. I'd call it a pastry, some different types of like pizza, pancake-like things, candy, something that the German hamburger, Frikadellen, and a drink that's kind of like apple juice mixed with weak kombucha that's sparkling, and it's actually pretty delicious. And one of the famous foods here in Germany, and especially in Berlin, is currywurst and pommes, which is curry ketchup sausage. Not like ketchup inside the sausage, but you have a German sausage, you put ketchup on it and curry powder, and you eat that with French fries, and it is delicious. I definitely recommend it. So those are the few positives and negatives that I've been able to come up with about doing an exchange. If you want me to do more videos like this, talking about what it's like being an exchange student, the positives and negatives of doing an exchange, let me know in the comments. And if you're interested in the sort of content that I'm going to start covering, like the IB program, being an exchange student, and just other nerdy stuff like Doctor Who, Harry Potter, science, etc., then give me a like, subscribe if you want to. Hopefully my video stuff will start getting better. As you can see, I started coming up with a little background that needs a little more development. Next time I'll clear off this couch back here, make a little more formal. Got a camera stand made out of a plastic water bottle. So we're coming up in the world. We're improving. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if it was helpful, that's great. And if you want to be an exchange student, I would definitely recommend it. It's a worthwhile experience despite some of the negatives. The positives make it worth everything. So I guess then have a great day, and DFTBA.